through the $1 Million Health Professional series, we started with how to increase profits in the healthcare business. We talked about then how to get out of the health business. We talked about then in session 3 staffing. We talked about marketing internal, marketing external. We then talked about business success principles. And it's almost like the full circle has come, and now we're talking about selling the thing. That's really what tonight's about, buying, selling, increasing the value of health businesses. And I've effectively broken it into 2 parts, and there are 2 essential parts for tonight. The first session is going to focus on the fundamentals of businesses in terms of there are 5 ways to value the business we'll talk about. We'll talk about what businesses are actually worth anything at all, because some health businesses are worth nothing. Hopefully you haven't got one of those. As I go through this evening, when I do mention those things, it's normally a groan. People realise that's one of mine. I have one of that. We'll talk about leasing mistakes, because there's lots of leasing mistakes that really impact on the sale price of your business. We'll talk about the best time to sell your business, and I wish I knew this years ago before. I missed the boat a lot of times, so I've learned a lot by mistake. And I'll also tell you how to spot a health business bargain. Now, but there's a paradox to that, or an opposite is how not to become one. So as a health professional out there, how to look for an opportunity but don't be an opportunity. The second session tonight, I'll then talk about the many ways I can tell you about how to increase the value of your business. But equally, if you haven't currently got a health business and you're looking at buying one, you're looking for these things in the potential business you're going to buy. So things you need to look for if you're going to buy a health business. So there's really the 2 parts we're going to go through this evening. I'll bore you with a very quick graphic of me when I first started. Excuse the hairdo, but that's 20 years ago now, in my first ever practice. Now, here's how we start. My beautiful wife Helen now, she was the aerobics manager at a fitness centre in Sydney. The manager of the gym used to leave at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He had kids, so he used to leave and do other things, and he said, you can use my office as a physio clinic. Okay, so I had a portable table. I rolled out the table, plugged in my ultrasound machine, and effectively I was in business. And that's basically where it started. But at no time then did I think about building a business that I might one day want to sell. It was a long time down the track before I even contemplated that. And it actually came about because some of my friends were selling their businesses for millions of dollars. The guys that I was hanging around with were selling their businesses for multi-millions of dollars. And I started thinking, wow, how about that? And it was only as I got more into it, I thought, my business isn't worth multi-millions of dollars. How come my mates are selling their businesses for millions and I'm going to retire and I'm going to retire and have not a lot to show for it? And that's the realisation we get to down the track. What have we done for 20, 30 years to get to the stage we're at the moment? So why this topic? Because I've sold, currently I think I've sold 6 of my businesses. I've closed 1, I licensed 3. I've done lots of business deals over the last 10 years. And as I said, the most recent thing is selling some of them. And I've learned a lot about the process along the way. So I want to try and share that with you tonight. So it's not just for people that have a business and want to sell it. It's for people that are starting a business or want to start a business or looking at buying a business. Same things apply to all those health professionals. I then expanded though. Okay, I've had this room, now we moved in our own room. So then, I've then got big time. I've now got a room of my own. I don't kick the owner out at 3 o'clock. We moved into another room inside a fitness centre, and I had 2 rooms, curtain between the 2 cubicles, same sort of deal you've probably seen in a lot of businesses, and I effectively had my own business again. But there are fundamentals that I wish I'd known then when I started this whole process in healthcare, and a couple of them for you. You have to always be ready to sell or always be ready to buy. I'm very lucky. I got to hang around with some very, very smart business guys starting around 10 years ago. And the more I hung around with these guys, the more things I learned. And I was like a sponge of information. I was fortunate to go to some really good business conferences or health conferences that had good business strands in them. Because you go to a physio conference and there's no business strand, I'll tell you right now. So I was hanging around other conferences to soak up business information. And one of the key things they told me, always be ready to sell and always be ready to buy. And we'll talk about that tonight, because you never know when this person's going to turn up and make you an offer. And if you're ready or not will really determine the sale price of your business. I love the story of Alan Bond when Kerry Packer sold in Channel 9. Now those who know the story, it was $1 billion. So and Kerry Packer says very clearly, there's only one Alan Bond in your lifetime. No disrespect to Alan Bond, but he's a coder, but he bet $1 billion. Kerry Packer photocopies the cheque, puts it in the toilet, on the wall of his toilet, because he just loved looking at it. And then he sold it back to him in 2 years for $400 million. but you never know when that's going to come up for you. So be ready. You have to, the mistake I made, you begin with the end in mind. I had no concept that I was going to one day sell these businesses when I first moved into that fitness centre. I had no concept that the next step I took to move into another fitness centre might make my sale price vulnerable. I didn't think of that. So begin with the end in mind, and if I could go back my time now, I'd be thinking very different than what I started and how I did it 20 years ago.
Very few people would have done that, particularly in physiotherapists.
No one's done it.
Yeah,
very few people. Yeah. Very few people do it in any business. We buy a little business and we think that's going to be great, but then you get 20, 30, 40 years down the track and think, well, my superannuation's not going to look after me, the government's not going to look after me. My mates are selling multi-million-dollar businesses, they're no smarter than me, what have I done wrong? I've chosen a health business and made some mistakes along the way, which we'll talk about tonight. The fundamental key for you also is to make yourself redundant. I can tell you now, one of the reasons I was able to sell my businesses for reasonable money was because I wasn't involved in the day-to-day running of the businesses. It has to run without you. The more you are entwined in it, the more you are involved in it, the more it is about you, the less your business is worth. We'll talk about that tonight also. Every step and every decision you make has to come back to the question, will this add or reduce the value of my business? Will putting this staff member on, will moving premises, will expand, will any of these things add or decrease in the value of my business? In your head, you should always be thinking about what's my business worth? What's my business worth? If you do that, you're at least coming in with your eyes open, rather than doing dumb things. So one of my clients said the other day, I'm thinking about moving into a quiet street off the main road. Will that increase or decrease the value of my business? Passing trade, what's his numbers going to be like? It's a recipe for disaster. But it's nice and quiet down there, he said. Think about it. Because in every decision you make, there is an opportunity cost. Every person here tonight, everyone watching this video, there is an opportunity cost that you are spending every year you spend in your current business. The opportunity cost is very simple. What could I be doing instead of this? Now, my goal is not to send you home thinking, what I've wasted 20 years of my life and what am I doing the next 5 years? That's not what the goal's about. But start thinking every extra year you spend in your business, if it's not where you want to go in the future, it's costing you an opportunity. What are you not doing because of what you're doing now? Or the decisions you made 20 years ago. We'll talk about how that happens in health businesses shortly. So there's an opportunity cost for every decision that you make. Because there are essentially only three types, well there's actually four, I'll talk about the fourth. There are three types of business situations for health professionals. You might be type 1. You may be a straight employee. Now, anyone that's followed my blog, I've caused a little bit of a stir in the health professional ranks recently. Sorry about that, people, but because I basically said I was promoting this seminar, this health business seminar, and I think the line was, don't waste 20 years of your life building a business that's worth nothing. That was my line. I let it go. And I was hammered. People came back with these, how dare you think that we're wasting our life helping people? We're health professionals, we're caring professionals, all that business came up. Well, maybe I just didn't say it right. You know, I shot my mouth off, which I tend to do, and as a result, the whole hell broke loose. But that's an employee mentality. And it's okay to say that now, and I would have said it 20 years ago as well. I just want to help people. But then the family comes, the mortgage comes, life moves on. What have you got after 20 years? And I would like to talk to those people that sent me bad emails in 20 years' time and see how they're travelling. It may be a very different scenario that we've got anyway. But you may be an employee. But I'll say to employees, you are still working for yourself. You're building your brand. I had a guy at one of the seminars in this series. He said, I'm working for a guy at the moment, but why should I spend the next couple of years building his business for him? That doesn't make any sense. So, well, you maybe think about it. You make yourself so important and powerful in that business that you can't do anything other than give you a partnership if that's what you want. Or you spend a couple of years trialling things, getting the systems up in place, working your guts out to make this a great business, because that's what you're going to do when you do your own business. Practice on his wages. Just dumb thinking. Why should I spend my time building this guy's business? It doesn't make any sense. But you may be an employee, and if you are, that's tremendous. You go home, you sleep okay. You don't worry about the business. You don't live it, breathe it, because the business is always here. When you're a business owner, it's always with you. So there's a lot to be said for being an employee. Don't think it's necessarily bad at all.